Imagine having on your shoulders the weight of an ancient prophecy commanding you to single-handedly bring ultimate balance to the universe. The expectations that come with it, the constant judgment from everyone around you, the fear of failure. How would you feel if even those closest to you saw you less as a great potential and more as a liability, a ticking time bomb waiting to bring great disaster instead of balance? Anakin Skywalker did not fall because he loved too much. He fell because the people entrusted with raising him never truly made him feel like he belonged. Anakin, more than anything, needed a strong father figure that could teach him to regulate his emotions, to not give in to anger and passion when the situation required calm and a level judgment, to not attach himself and his self-worth to people or things, but to be in tandem with the natural flow of the universe. Qui-Gon was the one who could teach him all this wisdom and so much more. He could teach him to be free of all the constraints put on him both by the Jedi and himself. He could teach him to be one with the living force, instead of fighting against it. Unable to fill in the difficult role of being the father Anakin needed, Obi-Wan inadvertently caused him to be drawn further into the dark side. The once promising apprentice he once looked upon with hope and admiration turned into a monster right before his eyes. His shortcomings as a teacher, his inability to understand Anakin deeply on a personal level, his strict adherence to the rigid rules of the Order, and his instinctual leaning to criticize and correct his apprentice instead of emphasizing and being in harmony with him, and his feelings alienated Anakin from his master. The apprentice started seeing his master as more of a rival and an oppressor rather than a guide and a mentor. Among Anakin's deepest wounds, his mother is the first and the most crucial in terms of his transformation. Being the only person he ever had since childhood, Shmi Skywalker left the first big mark on Anakin's psyche. Leaving her as a slave on Tatooine was hard enough on its own, but returning years later, only to see her in her grim fate, emboldened the feelings of weakness and inadequacy brooding inside Anakin. He put all the blame for her death on himself. He thought the first and one of the only people to whom he mattered died simply because he was not strong enough to change fate and make things otherwise. This belief led him to allow and do anything necessary to prevent the same loss of a loved one from happening ever again. When a person has a deep hole in their heart that they're unable to fill by themselves, they tend to cling to those closest to them as hard as they can, in a desperate attempt to fill in the feelings of emptiness inside. This sort of unhealthy attachment and possessiveness ultimately hurts everyone involved, especially the one who clings to them. Anakin's attachment to Padmé and his inability to move on after her death were built on top of the injury caused by the loss of his mother. The guilt he felt for leaving Shmi behind and being unable to save her propelled him to bear anything or pay any price, just to prevent the same scenario from playing out again. Padmé stopped being merely the woman Anakin loved. She became proof that he could still keep someone alive. Saving her meant redeeming himself for failing Shmi. Ironically, his actions created a self-fulfilling prophecy that caused Padmé's death, leaving him with even more guilt, self-blame, and self-hatred. Perfect fuel for the dark side, which Darth Sidious elaborately and masterfully exploited. Speaking of which, the most important player in Anakin's transformation is none other than the masterful manipulator, the insidious Sith Lord, Darth Sidious himself. Seeing how ostracized Anakin was from the Jedi Order, how feared and shunned he was by the ones he was supposed to trust the most, Palpatine stepped into the roles of a friend, a father figure, and a mentor in the most sinister fashion. He used Anakin's fears against them perfectly. He propagated what made him afraid, made the worries and the pain louder, while silencing what comforted and cared for him. He made sure Anakin would constantly wallow in amplified fears, anxiety, and haunting memories of the past instead of focusing on the bigger picture and the flow of the living force. With each decision Jedi made that pushed Anakin away, Sidious crept closer. With each nightmare he had about losing Padmé, the Sith Lord played further into his fear. He manipulated Anakin into thinking that the dark side of the Force was the only way to power, the path to be respected and accepted, the path to save the ones he loved. He made Anakin believe the only way to salvation flowed through him. Perhaps the most difficult challenge a person could face, and the greatest enemy one could best, is his own darkness inside him. At night, when you are alone, when you have no one but the silhouette in the mirror staring back at you, the person you see right there and then judges you the harshest. There, alone in his Bacta tank, the only place he could breathe and exist without constant pain and agony, with the whole galaxy fearing and bowing before him. The terrifying Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, probably couldn't help but relive the memories of a time when the people around him meant something to him, before the dark times, before the Empire, before he burned everything down around him just for a chance to feel a little bit of warmth. Thank you for listening. This is Worth a Second Look. Take care.